We put her back on it. This is now 10 years later, and I see her on Instagram. I follow her. She just got married. She's fine. Her kids grew up. She's happy, well-adjusted, not doing meth. And that was like stunning to me because meth, as you know, is one of the most addictive substances on the planet.
Shit, yeah.
And it's all because we balanced her brain chemistry. It's dopamine, right? Dopamine is the thing that we seek when we're addicted to something, that dopamine hit. And if you flood the brain, if you get the brain making, you get the body and brain making dopamine correctly, they lose the craving. It's like, it's magic.
I never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.
Hi guys, welcome back to Neff Inspiration, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stephan Neff. You guys know I have branched out from anesthesia into functional medicine, and I absolutely love the field. And the functional medicine is fantastic because we look at genetic predispositions, we look at epigenetics, we look at all those kind of things. And it's kind of a new world, and we're constantly learning more. And therefore, I was so excited to have my guest today on. I've got Ann Dunn. She is the CEO of an outfit called MyHappyGenes. Now, that is probably a giveaway, what we're going to talk about here today, because there are genes that can make you incredibly happy and incredibly set you up for good. And then there are genes that are not so nice. But, once you know what you're talking about, then you can use the right epigenetics, the right soup of factors floating over the genes to actually make the good ones come out and the bad ones shut up. And how cool is that? So I can't wait to speak to Jay. Jay, welcome to my show.
That was awesome. I like the way you put that. Thank you for inviting me on, Stephan.
Wow. And it's so bizarre because when I started medicine or studying medicine was the 80s, there was this clear, okay, these are the genes and that's the cards that you're playing with. You can't change anything. That's it. You get them, then you die with them. Well, we have learned so much more about them nowadays, isn't it? But I mean, having said that, I mean, we don't just wake up one day and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to be the CEO of a gene specializing company. How the hell did you get into that? What was your journey?
That's a good question. It's a really good question. So I'm a chiropractic physician, and I've been practicing for medicine, natural medicine, for over 35 years at this point. And very successfully, I had a really good, successful practice, but there was this nagging feeling that I was missing a piece of the puzzle, a piece of the health puzzle. And I kept looking, because several things led me to that conclusion. One was certain patients that didn't respond to anything I did. And I got a lot of tools in my tool bag. I do body work, emotional, structural, physical, nutritional, lots of things that work. And I had a very successful practice, waiting list, but there were certain people that just, I couldn't get anywhere with.
Huh.
And then my own health, I struggled for most of my life with pretty severe depression and fatigue, chronic fatigue syndrome, that I couldn't seem to really fix. So I knew I was missing a piece of the puzzle. And then there was another clue. And it was my father died of lung cancer at 55. Not a big mystery. He big smoker, drinker. He did everything he could to get cancer, and it worked. But here's the cool part. This is almost like an experiment that you can't really devise. But his best friend, doing the same things, married my mom and lived another 30 years doing those same behaviors. And so you go, it's genetics, right? And like you say, it used to be, we'll park it over here and go, yeah, it's just genes, and we can't do anything about it. And either you're lucky or you're not. But there's so much more to the story. And so when I started looking into these questions, one of them, the methylation piece, kept coming up, that word. I kept hearing methylation. What is that? So I kind of did a deep dive into what's methylation and found the most amazing thing. I watched this video by a guy named Rich von Koneinenberg. And I'm sitting there in my pajamas and I'm like, oh, you know how you get goosebumps when you're like on the right track? And I was like, oh my God, this is it. I'm writing notes, and like transformed. And I was like, oh my God, I get it. You can get in there You can understand how genes affect your biochemistry, and you can change how they express through epigenetics, is what you were talking about initially. You can change it through your diet, your lifestyle, and specific targeted supplementation can change how your genes express and then change your health outcome. And so I got my genes tested, and we mentioned some of the companies out there that are doing, like over-the-counter ancestry kinds of things. Got my genes tested by 23andMe and put them through an algorithm that kind of pulls out, some of the genes that they knew something about back then. This was 10 some years ago, like 30 genes, I think they were looking at. And one of them that got my attention because I was homozygous for it. Let me explain what that is for the audience. You get a set of genes from mom, set of genes from dad. That's your code for things that go on in your body, how you detox, how you repair, how you make energy, how you make neurotransmitters.
Mm.
If you have a change from the normal code in that gene from one parent, that's what we call a heterozygous variant. And if they're both genes are a change from the normal code, that's what we call homozygous. So it can reduce the activity of an enzyme, let's say, by around 70%, which is kind of a big hit.
Mm.
So one of the genes that stood out to me on that test was the vitamin D receptor, the VDR. And I had a homozygous variant there. So I'm like, okay, what does that mean? What is that? So I did a deep dive, and one of the first studies I found on the vitamin D receptor was high incidence of lung cancer when you smoke. And I was like, okay, that answers question number one. Second one was it activates certain enzymes in the body that get our brain making serotonin and dopamine. I was like, there's my depression. And number three was it activates T cell function. When you can absorb vitamin D correctly, activates T cell function so you can fight off infections. So the Epstein-Barr virus that was causing my chronic fatigue, I was like, this all makes sense. It's all logical, but okay, sucks to be you. Or can we do something about it? And so I found that you can, that there are certain cofactors, especially for like the VDR, there's cofactors that cause it to open up so D can get in and then start all these processes up. That was the theory. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to try it. I'm going to be the first guinea pig, And I tried it. So I did the targeted nutrients and bam, my brain chemistry changed. I'm talking pretty much overnight. And I went, I think this is happy. I've heard about it. I had never felt it because my brain really couldn't make neurotransmitters correctly. And it changed my life. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is big.
Wow.
If we can understand these genetic variants and how to work with them so that, like you said, either turn on or turn off or shut up or work right. It was stunning to me that after 50 years of struggling with that, it was gone. And it wasn't, it's one of those things where you go, what's the matter with me? Why can't I think happy thoughts? Why can't I be positive? There's something wrong with me. And it turned out to be biochemical, genetically driven. And so I was like, oh, wow, if it works for that gene, how do we work with these other genes? What are the specific targeted nutrients that lead to, let's say, ADD or anxiety or PTSD or addictions? Or, it was a like whole new world for me diving into these and trying to understand how they work and then working with them.
Beautiful.
So I took this back to my patients and I started working on people like this. And it was like, bam, bam, bam. The people I couldn't get anywhere with started to get better and very quickly. And people were coming in and they were like, I just feel content. That was the word I heard the most. It was like, I'm not anxious anymore. I'm not depressed anymore. I'm not overwhelmed by things anymore. And it was like, wow, this is crazy that we can understand the brain chemistry. That was just one piece. There's lots of other pieces there, the energy production and detox and all that. But that one piece was stunning to me. And so we started from there.
Wow. Wow, what a beautiful, beautiful revelation that sort of came into your life, and therefore the passion that was building up there. Fantastic. I mean, but a few simple questions. Did you take supplements beforehand? And
I did. I'd been taking supplements for, most of my career.
Fantastic. Okay, so you were trying to do the right thing, but yet, despite that, when you measured your levels, for example, the vitamin D, what were the vitamin D levels in you?
Good question.
Were they normal? Were they high? Were they non-existent?
But there were 18, which if you know anything about vitamin D, 60 is optimal. No matter what I did, no matter how much vitamin D I took, I couldn't get anywhere with it because my receptors don't work, so it's like D is trying to get in and it can't. And then until you take the cofactors and boom, opens up.
Exactly.
And suddenly my D went through the roof. And
yeah,
I didn't understand that. It's like I take more, here's the blood work. If I got low D, I should take D.
Yeah.
But that way, you got to look at what's happening. Is it being absorbed? Do you have the receptors?
Interesting. Okay. Really, really, really good. So wonderful. Wow. What a start. And I think that is really the future. And I think we see that more and more because it is not just the example of the natural production of our things. So even if we optimize every single pathway in our body with the right nutrients, the right trace elements, etc., vitamins, there's still sometimes the need that we need to use medications. But even for the medications nowadays, we begin to increasingly understand that the way medications are either absorbed into the system or then dealt with in the liver or in other parts of the body, that has to do with genetic differences. And therefore, this is a complete new world out there that medicine is facing, a individualized medicine based upon the really a careful analysis of blood work, and it is amazing. This is the future. But let's be quite clear and quite real. If you go through the American streets, you see a hell of a lot of homeless. You see money being non-existent. The division between rich and poor, between various subsets of your population are getting worse. It's getting more divisive. Who the hell has money to actually address these kind of things? So, I mean, and genetic testing, it's not cheap, is it? I mean, how much? What are we talking about?
Yeah, so $295 is what it costs to get the genes tested and get your first report. And I'm giving you guys a $50 off coupon. So you only have to have it done once. It's not like where you got to, thousands of dollars, or you have to repeat it over and over again. You don't. Your genes are your genes, and they're not going to change.
And so, that is a really, really lovely thing to do, because, and thank you for pointing that out, because the genes are the genes, but now you know what you're actually dealing with. And if you think about some health practitioners, I certainly, when I initially did pain medicine and I advised my patients to get those things, if they just went to the pharmacy, they came out with a $300 bill just on nutrients for 3 months, 6 months, etc. And often enough, this was a hit and miss because of we didn't know what we were actually exactly treating. Having said that, I mean, most people run around malnourished. Most people run around with shockingly low vitamin D, shockingly low iron. There are so many things. Certain vitamins with our stressful life are just gobbled up left, right, and center. And we are don't get me started on nutrition. I mean, so we are not even looking after ourselves. But having said that, I think by starting a journey, you have to start your journey somehow. And I think it is a bloody good way to start off with, to actually see what are your pros, what are your cons, what cards were you given in this game of life. And I think that is where your DNA analysis actually comes in. So how does it work? Do I need to spit into something, or is it a blood test?
No, it's a swab. So you just, it's a cheek swab. So it's super easy to do. I know
Nice. No.
some of the other companies, you have to get a lot of spit in
Yeah,
those.
that's that's
Yeah.
and indeed, technology gets better and better and better nowadays.
Yeah.
So it is actually you can pick up more data from less material. So I think that's the blessing in 2024. And
Yeah.
what aspects of life are you looking at when in your gene testing? We were talking
Well,
already the methylation as a key a diagnostic to a certain degree, because you can use a number of methylation steps, how they work, and can create your true age. You can get an idea about how old is your body inside based upon how it can deal with the shit that is either coming in through your mouth or through your skin and through everything.
yeah, we don't really measure that. We measure what you've inherited, and then, we look at your risks. So one of our reports is mood and personality. So we look at addiction risks, from alcohol to nicotine,
Nice.
opioids.
Nice. Yeah.
The mood imbalances, your risk of depression or major depressive disorder or bipolar or schizophrenia or addiction or anxiety, et cetera. And oxytocin levels, how well you form bonds to people, if you're entrepreneurial or not. You learn a lot about who you are. And it's interesting because I'll read somebody's report cold and I'll say, you're like this, 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 and this. And they're like, oh my God, how'd you know that? It's like, it's in your genes. So much more of it is in your genes than you had any idea.
Yeah.
So, and then we look at diet and lifestyle. So what foods are best for your genes? And we all, we all think we know what healthy is, but there's never one size fits all when it comes to specific things that you can do to improve your health. So things like turmeric, a lot of people say, oh, it's anti-inflammatory, everybody should take it. Not if you have the MAO gene. It actually slows it down even further and can create an aggravation in the body. Green tea is another one. Everybody says, oh, it's antioxidants. Everybody should drink it. Not if you have that comp variant, because it's going to slow that enzyme down. So knowing, kind of like how to weave your best diet in to support your genes is a huge
very good.
first step. That's the good first step.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
Like intermittent fasting, everybody says everybody should do it. Well, yes and no. Some people are designed, their genetics are designed, they can go a long time. Others are going to have to do a shorter time because they can't maintain their blood sugar longer than a certain amount of time. And it actually is detrimental. So it's very, very individual and fascinating. Are you gluten intolerant? Are you lactose intolerant? Those are all kind of genetically determined sort of things.
Oh,
So
fantastic. Absolutely.
yeah. And then we look at, your health risks. Are you at risk for cognitive decline or Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or autoimmune or COVID even, or infections of various kinds, or, digestive system issue. We have a whole list of different kind of susceptibilities, risks that you've inherited. It's good to know, heads up. And then we do the biochemistry that you've talked about. So methylation pathways, histamine pathways, the Krebs cycle, electron transport chain, energy production, detoxification, nitric oxide pathways. We look at those specifically with the patient. And then the fifth report gives us supplementation. So you take a questionnaire and you say, I'm having these symptoms. And we go, okay, you have these symptoms and you have this gene, then this is the supplement for you. So I designed a supplement regime specific for your body. So it's kind of cool.
Oh, it is, isn't it? It's a very good starting point to individualize otherwise potentially quite expensive treatment and quite treatment that potentially can backfire. And I like that. I like that a lot, that we are using modern science to give us a head start and save us money to a certain degree. It's an investment in your health. I love it from that angle. It makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, and you mentioned, like biological age, and there are other companies that can measure it. And one of them that we work with is True Diagnostics, and they can tell your telomere length, the length of the little tail on the chromosome that shortens every time it reproduces, right? That you can see how fast you're aging, or your true biological age, like you say, inside versus your true age. So it's fascinating to do that test.
Yeah.
And then do the MyHappyGenes kind of protocol, and then go back and test how you're aging, and you can see it start to reverse. So it's kind of cool.
And did you guys listen to that? About what Jay just said, that you can do something, that you can take steps and reverse your aging.
Yeah.
Without having had the benefit of those diagnostics, when I got sober, I got my shit together, I thought, with nutrition. But then 5 years down the line, or 4 years down the line, I felt still tired. And is it me getting old? And so I put my health into the hands of a nutritionist here in New Zealand, Ben Warren. And he basically, with questionnaires and some biotesting, some blood testing, put me on the right direction with all kind of beautiful things that I'm taking nowadays. And as if someone switched the lights on. So for me, this blunderbuss, this kind of shotgun approach, shoot and what sticks, that worked really, really well.
Yeah.
But I had genes that were absolutely probably not so good. The addiction side of things, but also my father died of his sixth heart attack in his 60s. And so I thought, oh my God. And my lifestyle was not very conducive to a healthy heart prior to me getting sober. So I did a CT scan that specifically looked at the coronary arteries. And I expected to see, a few pizzas stuck in there. And turns out that I had the coronaries of a baby. And that was not supposed to have happened. How the hell with my likely genes, and not proven yet, but my likely genes and my lifestyle, how the hell can that be? And it just shows that you can reverse things. And with a shotgun approach, I must have hit the right goals because I taught my body how to repair itself, something that we didn't learn in med school that it can do.
No, I know. True,
isn't
true.
it? So here we are. So I'm living example that you can do a hell of a lot of things that can turn life around and actually reduce some of the aging process. And that is exciting.
It's very exciting, yeah.
Isn't it? But I mean, now let me play devil's advocate. Here we are, sending our DNA around to one place and the other place, etc. And here you're telling me that you're actually are able to say that, hey, this person is probably far more likely to be addicted, depressed, have certain attributes that probably are not so nice for an employer. So where are we with the dark side? Would it not be
Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead and finish.
No, ladies first. I mean, you know already where I'm going there. The data security, and in general terms, I mean, if I was running an army, I would love to use these tests left, right, and center to figure out who are the most effective soldiers, let's call it, or who do we not employ? Are we coming to a point sooner or later that a DNA test is part of your pre-employment workup?
I wouldn't be surprised, Stephan. It's pretty cool because you can see who's designed for frontline and who you never want to put up there because they're susceptible to PTSD, et cetera. But to address your question, we're very passionate about this anonymity. And so when you do the test, the only thing that goes to the lab is a barcode. They never have any information on you. No name, no address, no phone number, no social security number, nothing. It's a barcode. And they destroy that sample after 3 months at the lab. It's gone, it's done. The information comes back, that barcode's attached to your email, whatever email you want to use. You can use an anonymous, incognito, it doesn't matter, you can make it up. That's the only thing that's attached. So you can put a false name on there, we don't care. It's all completely anonymous.
Well, that is actually quite a very positive thing. I like to hear that.
Yeah, because I'm concerned like you are. I think, it's who knows where that data is, where it's going to get to, and who's
Well, exactly. exactly.
judge, you say judge employment or what, or deny you insurance or whatever,
Well, exactly right. So I think there is the right to privacy. Yet at the same token, to a certain degree, I understand also that I understand both sides of the coin, if that makes sense. At the same token, though, I want to protect myself. And I want to erase that question because a lot of people have got maybe some false ideas. How would you call that? They're just thinking DNA. Oh my God, that's Big Brother watching you from the word go, and yeah.
Yeah, I get that, but I also, some companies are doing good research with, the DNA data, and I get that too, but I didn't want to be one of those companies that
Hmm.
sells your data to some big pharmaceutical company. It's not my thing, and
Is that what is happening? And with
oh yeah,
in
yep, sure is. Yeah, that's how certain companies made the big money.
oh,
Yeah,
I see.
I don't want to mention any names, but
Okay, we wait until we stop recording. Okay.
yeah.
No, and I think that is the reality. And if people are getting upset when they hear that, for crying out loud, what do you think Facebook is doing? What do you think AliExpress or Amazon or etc. is doing? My goodness gracious! You know that every time. Yeah, ChatGPT or any kind of AI, that is all, whatever you give in there is public domain. So if you say, well, my marriage is really in trouble and that has occurred to me, well, guess what? You might as well put it on Facebook, shout out loud, because it's out there on ChatGPT. So don't be surprised if you were to really understand what data is collected about you. I mean, I had hair prior finding out what is collected. I'm kidding. So I think that is good to hear. So we are all exposing ourselves so much more. Although DNA is then the next step, obviously. So I love to hear that the data protection, the privacy is so
one
high.
less company out there collecting your stuff.
What's the future? I mean, here you are, 10 years ago, you started that journey, and now we are all on a path. And we're never stagnant, especially people like you and me. We don't just, oh yeah, I've achieved it now. Brilliant, cool. Let's lean back. Oh, bullshit.
You can't do it.
No, because we are. But exactly, you're addicted to learning. You're addicted. Look at your passion. Look at your eyes. Yeah. This is that's cool. I love it. So, what is the future of gene testing, and where are you heading towards?
Well, my goal is to really educate people that, it isn't always about you need a drug to, that doesn't make you healthy, and it's covering up symptoms. And there are ways to work with the body that make it work in the way that it was designed to, in this beautiful way that's natural. And it's very specific. You've inherited genes that your ancestors benefited from. They were able to survive. It's a survival of the fittest thing. But today is a different environment. We have plenty of calories. We have assaults that our ancestors never had, toxins, chemicals, pesticides, radiation, heavy metals, electromagnetic fields, that our ancestors never had to deal with. And so, you mentioned, there's a lot of people walking around unhealthy. In addition, I want to say that, I look around in America, especially, over 60% of people are obese, not just overweight, but obese. It's crazy. When I was in Europe recently, I'm looking around, I'm going, where are the fat people? They're not there. It's very different. But anyway, the point is, future, I believe, is people listening to this. Medication is not going to solve anything. It's not going to get you healthier. Healthy lifestyles really help. Getting your genes tested and getting the nutrients and supplement, or the diet and lifestyle recommended for you specifically, is the baseline. That's where we should start. And there's no substitute for saying stop eating sugar, or make sure you exercise, or get your sleep, or drink water.
Stop it, Jay. You're a bloody witch. Nowadays, we have got companies who are making trillions with the new drugs, the diabetes drugs that are now found to be the magic cure for obesity. Who are doing, oh, see, just another medicine. Here is my pill. We're going to make gazillions out of you. And how dare you talk about nutrition and lifestyle change? We need to burn you on the stake, you witch, Jay.
No, that's the thing, Stefan. I mean, it's like there's a lot fighting against this
Isn't
concept
it?
of, yeah, like let's be healthy, let's do healthy things, and let's understand the physiology that we inherited.
So
Wow, that's heresy, you know?
exactly right. So you think we are moving as a society back towards the more healthy things, and then bang, we've got a new pharma industry hot thing of the press. And please, let's be quite clear. There are medications out there which can be life-saving, and they can sometimes be the quick fix to the start of a journey. They help you to get onto the journey. We know, however, that many a times the moment you stop that medication because you have done fuck all else on your behaviors, on the reasons why you overeat, for example, why you try to escape reality with alcohol, but you're straight back to the weight or even higher in the weight. So I think that is the reality that we need to highlight. And there's a place for everything, but I think we should start, as you quite rightly say, with nutrition and with the right nutrition for you. So individualized, and that's where the gene testing comes in.
Right. And I have a story to tell you because it may resonate with you a little bit, but when I first started doing this, I had a patient come in and she was a meth addict. And, you know, she had 2 young kids at home and she would constantly leave them alone, you know, like just go off. And they would call their aunt and say, you know, can you come get us? Mom's disappeared again. And she would go get them. But she brought her in, you know, she brought the niece in and said, hey, can you do anything with this? And I was like, I don't know. You know, it was only first started working with the genetics. And I was like, let me try. So we put her on a program. And, you know, a week later, she said, I don't have any cravings for meth. And I was like, that's nice. You know what I'm talking about, right? People,
Exactly.
I'm fixed, you know, we can do it. We'll see. And then, so a year went by, no cravings for meth. She got her kids back. She got a house. She got her job. Then she stopped taking her supplements. Bam, right back to meth. And, they called me up and said, hey, you know, don't let her run out of supplements. We will pay, you know, make sure they're coming. We put her back on it. This is now 10 years later, and I see her on Instagram. I follow her. She just got married. She's fine. Her kids grew up. She's happy, well-adjusted, not doing meth. And that was like stunning to me because meth, as you know, is one of the most addictive substances on the planet.
Shit, yeah.
And it's all because we balanced her brain chemistry. You know, it's dopamine, right? Dopamine is the thing that we seek when we're addicted to something, that dopamine hit. And if you flood the brain, if you get the brain making, you get the body and brain making dopamine correctly, they lose the craving. It's like, it's magic. Same with alcohol, same with cocaine, same with opioids. You know, we've seen it happen. Now this is like anecdotal, and I would love to see a study done, but it was stunning to me because every time we tried it, we got the brain making the neurotransmitters correctly. People lost their cravings, and including sugar, which is one of the most addictive substances on the planet. And they stopped eating badly. And that was the thing, is like, I think we had it backwards. We were saying, stop eating sugar and go for a walk, you know, put the ice cream down, go for a walk. And these people, often they had damaged their mitochondria and they can't make energy out of the food they're eating. Therefore, it's like an empty tank. They're walking around with an empty tank. They can't exercise because there's just no fuel at the cellular level. And they're craving sugar because they need, you know, the brain's going, I need fuel. And so they're giving into those cravings because they're so freaking strong. And the brain is so powerful at saying, I need fuel. When we fired up those genes that make the mitochondria work correctly, they completely lost their desire for sugar and they're having energy, and now they can go for a walk. So those lifestyle choices or lifestyle suggestions that we were making as practitioners now landed home and they were able to do it. So
Cool.
it's an interesting kind of paradigm shift. You know, if you get
Isn't
that biochemistry balance, then they're able to do. And same with addictions. Not to say that the only reason is biochemical, because there are emotional reasons and there's covering up feelings and all that too. But if you start with a balance of brain chemistry, that willpower, that desire to get sober, to get off drugs, or to get off sugar is so much easier to deal with, because you're not fighting that really strong biochemical urge.
Beautifully said, beautifully laid out. Oh, man. And we know it. We know that those things can be so powerful. Even shorter periods of a healthy nutrition, just simply a nutritional quotation mark experiment, where in a Finnish prison, they for a few days they changed their nutrition. They changed the slop that they put on the trays, and surprise, 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 30% reduction in violence in the prison system. And that was just changing nutrition. Can you now imagine the explosion of change, of transformation, if we were now target that towards a kind of supercharged pathway for each and every one of these people?
Right.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
There's a future that potentially is so overwhelmingly beautiful that you think, okay, what's wrong? We can't be at a breakthrough of something that actually changes the bloody world. Come on.
Yeah, we can.
Is it too good to be true?
I don't think so. You know, at first I was like, can this really work this way? Power that made the body is incredible. And if we give the body what it needs to do, what it's supposed to do, just stand back, because it's going to do it. It's so well designed.
Yeah.
We're able to fight off infections. We're able to, you know.
Let's come though to, I mean, you mentioned it earlier on, the obesity pandemic, really, that we have got in the United States, also here in New Zealand, also, and it's often the people who are in the lower socioeconomic strata within our society that don't have the education, that often don't have the money, because you can actually get a lot of cheap shit, really dirt cheap, because it's dirt that you're eating. For example, I can get, if I want to buy clean water, it's more expensive than one of these chemical-laden soups called soft drinks. How does that work? Okay, so here we are. So this is the setting in which we are, and we have got the obesity pandemic. Where could you see an advantage of DNA testing, especially MyHappyGenes testing, to address obesity?
Well, you know, like I just talked about was, well, part of the problem, Stephan, is, you know, the government subsidizes bad food, you know, corn, GMO corn, and, you know, soy, and cheap
Understood.
beef. You know, you go to McDonald's and you can get a hamburger for what, $2? I don't even know anymore. I haven't been in so many years, but $2, something like that. You go to the grocery store and you try to buy something for $2. It's a shame that the government is supporting these bad foods and not the good foods. You know, that's just wrong. That's wrong on so many levels. But so, you know, in the obesity department, again, when, you know, going back to this concept, when I had this patient, this is one of the first people that came in, and I'm doing the gene thing on. She was so big that you know, she'd fly down from New York to New Mexico to see me. She had to buy 2 seats because she was that big. And she came in, and I'm, you know, we're talking about nutrition, and, you know, what are you eating? I'm eating pretty good. And yeah, right, you know.
But here we are, that is immediately our thinking about our health and lifestyle. And now continue with that story.
And does anybody not know that sugar makes you fat? Is that not, like, is that a secret? I don't think so. But anyway, I put her on the supplement program for her genetics. You know, we designed the program for her. She went home and she called me a week later and she's crying. And I was like, what's going on? And she said, it wasn't my fault. I said, what wasn't your fault? She said, I was eating a large pack of Oreo cookies right before bed every night because I couldn't stand the cravings. My body, my brain, everything was just driving me to eat all this sugar. She said, I don't even want it now. It doesn't even sound good. It doesn't taste good. She said, it wasn't my fault. And that was, I just went,
Oh,
wow. And the weight just dropped off of her. And she, the high blood pressure dropped, the blood
of
sugar
course.
dropped, all the things. So again, I think we have it a little bit backwards. And part of it comes from maybe, and you'll understand this, Stephan, because you understand biochemistry, the mitochondria. That's
Mhm.
our organelle inside our cells that makes energy out of food, right? And there are genetic variants that can damage it, but there are also environmental things that can damage it. And it's some of the things we mentioned, the electromagnetic fields, the chemicals, pesticides, drugs can damage, a lot of drugs can damage mitochondria, and especially like Cipro and levaquin, the fluoroquinolines
Mm.
can completely kill mitochondria. And so if you kill all those mitochondria that are making energy for you, yeah, you're going to be tired, you're going to gain weight, and your blood sugar is going to go crazy. Your cardiovascular system is going to suffer. So we focus with her on restoring mitochondrial function, and then suddenly she's got energy at the cellular level. She doesn't need to crave all this sugar to feel normal, and she feels like she has energy at the cellular level to exercise, and the cravings just stopped. And so I went, wow, that's the genetic compassion piece of this. It's like, and again, for myself, after struggling with depression for 50 years and thinking it was my fault, or it was because my dad was mean, or my family were
Wow.
alcoholic, or whatever it
Wow.
was, that was my story. But that story went away when I got my brain chemistry balanced. And I went, yeah, they were, my father was an alcoholic and my mother was a high functioning alcoholic, but it doesn't mean that I have to suffer for the rest of my life with, the story about why I'm depressed. The depression
Fuck
went away.
me.
So that
Wow.
story was not real. It was a story I made up. And same with her. She was like, I'm weak-willed. I don't have, there's something wrong with me that I can't
Yeah.
stop eating this. And she said, it wasn't my fault. I realized that.
Wow.
You can't imagine the relief, the compassion, the self-esteem
Wow.
that can come back from that,
Oh,
it's huge. Yeah.
wow. 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 I didn't see that coming today. I
Yeah.
expected to get a good education about epigenetics, which we had. And suddenly we've got this tool that very much links not just a theoretical understanding and some, oh, that's nice that I've got that gene, but actually pathways then to streamline and fast charge transformation that is
Right.
waiting for us. I can't wait. I can't
It's so
wait.
fun. It is
Isn't it?
really fun. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And I started,
Mm.
as I was practicing, I started to see things turn around that they say are not able to turn around, including like ALS, Parkinson's,
Uh-huh.
MS, Hashimoto's thyroiditis.
Yeah.
All of my patients went into the normal TPO range when we put them on these programs. And I was just like, wow, this is huge. So that's why I started the company. I was like, oh man, I gotta create a software program that will do this,
Yeah.
that will look at all these pathways and all these genetic, and it's the interplay. It isn't like, oh, you got the MTHFR gene, take folic acid. It's the interplay of those genes and how they react with each other. It's the pathways. That's the key. So
And
we're very different than any other company out there doing this because we understand that the biochemical process behind these genes.
exactly. And I think that's also what then is reflected in the field of functional medicine. We understand that if you have got a problem, let's say in your women's bits, and in the past, in the 80s, I learned that there's a brain and that there are the ovaries, and then there's a bit of message down and maybe from then message back up, and that's about it. That was it. In reality, that axis is linked with the thyroid, is linked with your immune system, is linked with a myriad of other systems. So it's a huge spider web where you can start pulling on one end and things wriggle over there on the other end. And that is where this integration comes in, when we start to begin to actually realize that by us moving a little bit there, adding a little bit there, suddenly up there, a major change occurs. I think, what the hell? What happened just? And that is something that we've started to begin to realize in the last 10, 15 years. And it's really sort of taking off now. And therefore, what we see from you here, Jay, is a new tool that, again, allows us to fast track the various bits, to identify where to pull on this complex web to actually make those bits jingle that we want to make jingle. And sometimes you're amazed because you jingle one thing and something else gets better. That was the crazy thing for me when I changed my nutrition and stopped working on, well, I stopped putting antigens more into my body. Suddenly, a crippling Achilles tendinitis, an inflammation of a tendon that really hobbled me, within 2 months, gone. My hay fever, which really was incapacitating at times, massively improved. Still a bit there, but I go out there the whole day and have no problem with it. Unheard of, So smelly feet, gone. My whole thing's changed on my body. And I thought, what the hell? And here you go. Guys, this is amazing shit that we are talking about. And if you think, my God, look at him, he's going nuts. Oh, I'm just super excited because we're actually here. We're here at the dawn of a new millennium, the dawn of a new era where we can be so much more targeted in our approach to individuals. And therefore, it's so much more likely that we get the breakthroughs rather than in the past where we said, well, you're depressed, let's try fluoxetine, Prozac. Or that didn't work, okay, let's try paroxetine. Or let's try mirtazapine. We'll see. So different approach, very different approach. And therefore, it's so exciting to be part of that movement.
Yeah, and it's going back to the basics. I mean, the human body runs on vitamins, minerals, amino acids, proteins, carbs, fats, air, water. Can you think of anything else? Hormones. But all of those things that happen in the body require those specific nutrients and in specific quantities for you. So like for me, my supplement regimen is going to be very different than yours.
Interesting.
To my genes. So you can't just take a multiple vitamin and think it's all going to work, So
oh, come on then. Now I have to think. Come on.
Very precision, and that's
I like it. I like it.
But then there's the interaction. So let's say, the vitamin D receptor that I talked about. When you turn on that vitamin D receptor, and it turns tyrosine into dopamine and tryptophan into serotonin. Now you've got another problem. You have to break those down. So you got to make sure that the genes that you have are going to be able to break those down, because dopamine turns into adrenaline. And you can imagine what happens if you can't break down adrenaline. Out of your skin. Yeah, there is. So you gotta make sure that gene is working correctly. Or if you build up serotonin, you probably know more than anybody that's irritability and anxiety and aggression. It can turn on aggression if you have too much serotonin. So we look at downstream. Okay, what's going to happen when we turn this pathway on? Now we got to address these genes, and when we address those genes, we have to address those down here, because there's a cascade of transformation that happens when we take tryptophan, which is an amino acid, and turn it into serotonin, and then we turn it into melatonin so we can sleep, or we turn it into 5-hydroxyandilacetic acid and then excrete it out of the body. So we have to know what happens all the way down that pathway and make sure that all the enzymes are working correctly. So that's what the algorithm does, and that's the beauty of the software. It's like, oh, okay, if you got this gene and this gene, and we got to do this and this and run it through. And you said it in the very beginning, if you take certain nutrients, they're going to send your body the wrong way. let's say B6 for some people is going to turn on detoxification way too fast, and you're going to have a dump of all the chemicals and heavy metals in the body, and it can overload your detox pathways. And so it has to be, pretty precise for your genetic printout. So it takes a software program to do it, because I can't do it in my head. I
Wow.
got to have an algorithm that can figure that out. So it's kind of cool. But yeah, I really believe I want it to be the future of medicine, that we start there.
Yep.
Let's start there. So for an alcoholic, brain chemistry balance first. Then we talk about the 12-step program. Then we get
I
into
like it. I
and
like it.
your results are going to be like through the roof.
I like it. I like it. Well, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. But in all fairness, I see that nowadays. But these are new concepts which were non-existing really, let's say 10 years ago. Or so there was this temptation that you say, if I would have only, should have, would have, could have. Well, the past is the past, and the past does not equal the future. So you guys, whatever your past was, and where whatever path led you to be here listening today to Jay and me talking, it was what it was. But now we have got this privilege of choice, the privilege of taking action. And here we are, we have got a new dimension with which we can work, with which we can address the things. No doubt trauma has occurred to you. No doubt. And we can't just rule that out. But at the same token, if we neglect the underlying medical problems within your body or your medical setup, genetic setup, let's call it like that, if we neglect that, then you can do as much psychotherapy as you wish. You can do hypnotherapy for the next 30 years until you wake up again, and you will still be the same, because you have not addressed some of the genetic/biological things. And when I always tell my patients, or I always talk in many shows about that one of the first things you should do is when you are dealing with a mental problems, that you go to your GP and do actually some blood work and do actually check out for the basic functioning of your body. So this should still be plan A, because your GP will be the person who is probably most financially savvy to look after you, knows how to get the basic things done without costing you an arm and a leg. So that's a good starting point. But now we've got that new tier, that new, okay, let's go a bit into details there, rather than just give you something.
Right.
I love it.
There are two of the reports are available to the consumer, and the other 3 are only available to licensed healthcare providers. So that we want it, that if somebody is on paroxetine or whatever, and you start messing with their brain chemistry, so we want them to be under the care of either their primary care physician or somebody that is trained to look at these genetic reports, and also under the care of the person who prescribed whatever medications they're on. So
nice.
Yeah, we're very careful about that, because I don't want to send anybody, kind of in the wrong direction.
Absolutely.
Want them to be safe.
And that is so important, because 1 + 1 can make 3 if you have. And that's again where it is so important to work together with your GP, because he works on a more biological kind of pharmaceutical kind of way. And that makes perfect sense. If he doesn't know what else you're up to, that can be a recipe for disaster. So therefore, yes, work very closely together with a power team. In this case, your GP is probably the conductor of the team, because the conductor, there might be other specialists that have been involved in your care. If you had autoimmune thyroiditis, or if you had irritable bowel, there might be a general, there might be a surgeon involved, or it might be other things. So make sure that everyone plays together and that they play nice. And then share the info, isn't it? Exactly. And it can be hard. I mean, do you get some pushback from some physicians?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, we do. But it's up to the patient to say, all right, then I'm going to go play with somebody else.
Touche.
choose your team. You're the one in power. And that's another message.
Yeah.
Take your power back, understand your body. And
And
it's not as complicated as you think. It's actually logical when you start to
yeah.
study it a little bit, be brave, get in there, get your first report and go, okay, I'm going to take this apart and see what makes me tick and try to
Exactly.
understand. It really does make sense and it's very logical and you can understand it, so don't let your physician intimidate you into thinking that he's the only one who knows your body. You're the only one who's going to know your body.
Nice.
You're going to know your body better than anybody ever will. And so it's time for us to stand up for ourselves.
I love it.
And
It's
empowered beings and say, no,
Yeah.
This doesn't feel comfortable doing this drug. Why am I doing that drug?
Mm.
Can I try a natural method first
Yeah,
to see if it
absolutely.
works? And
Yeah.
then we can talk, let's work together. You're my team. You're on my team. You're my
Exactly.
leader. Let's do
Exactly.
it together.
And I think
yeah.
that is part and parcel of extreme ownership. And that is when we grow up to be proper functioning humans, that we take ownership of our actions, of what we've done in the past, of how we conduct ourselves, but also take ownership of your body. No one is forcing the sugar in you. Okay, there is a reason that you're eating. No one is forcing you to show a certain behavior. Okay, there are certain things where you just have to say, okay, this is maybe a quotation mark weakness. Or you might now come as this lovely lady who said, it's not my fault. Now suddenly you might realize that actually you just had been giving a bad set of cards. But with every set of cards you can win if you know how to do it. And that's exactly where this pathway here with HappyGenes is going. Oh, wow. Okay, so if people want to know more about it, where can they find you? Where can they find your testing?
MyHappyGenes.com, all one word. It's pretty simple.
Perfect. And are you on social media? Is there more information available about you?
Yes, and I'm on YouTube. There are a lot of videos there if you want to learn more. If you want to kind of understand a little more of the biochemistry and the genetics, and there's some educational videos on there.
Cool.
Yeah, and I'm on, Instagram and Facebook and all of those things. Have a team for that.
Oh, wow. Look down there into the description of the YouTube video and of the podcast, because all of Jay's information is there. And when I say Jay, that is actually her name, Jay Dunn. Official name is Jay, because I initially had to ask, is it Julia or is it anything? No, it's Jay. It's Jay Dunn. So there you go, guys. If you were wondering, this is now the solution, the reveal of the mystery of the J.
Mystery of the J. Yeah, I have a lot of people ask me, like, okay, what does it stand for? You can tell me. I won't tell anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
I used to tell people I had 25 brothers and sisters,
Oh, ouch.
I was the 10th child. Yeah.
Right. Ow.
Oh, Jay. I have a coupon for your people if they're interested in getting it done. It's steps 50. And unfortunately, we're only fulfilling in the United States at the moment, but we have a way to get things if people are in New Zealand and they're listening, we have a way to get things over there. So
fantastic.
Sorry about that. It's a little bit of a
cool
thing,
cool,
but we have ways around it.
Fantastic.
So, and I'll get you the name of that practitioner too that's in New Zealand. She's fantastic. You'll love her.
Cool.
The name is coming to me. It's bubbling up.
That's all cool. Jay, you're an amazing woman. Thank you so much for your passion. Thank you so much for sharing this new exciting opportunity to streamline our health management in a far more efficient way. Jay, I there's no doubt I will have you back on my show, because you are thirsty for knowledge. You will develop more, and it's such a rapid expansion in our field. So there are more things that we soon realize in a year's, 2 years time. So let's grow together and let's learn together and let's make this world a better place. Hey.
I love it. Yeah. Thank you for that message. And I think it's a hopeful message. The whole thing is your message as well with your podcast is very hopeful. So thank
Cool.
you for the work you're doing. Yeah.
And you guys out there, look after yourself and live with passion. Bye.
I never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.